reserve team caring for those injured in battle. Let's have another round of applause for Willow Shield! Alright, up next, she wowed us in Catching Fire as Anabaria, and with those extremely sharp teeth. Let's hear it, please, for Meta Golding! Next, you all know him as Brutus, the strongest and, may I say, scariest adversary in the 75th Hunger Games, but we know him as Bruno Gunn! Welcome. So good to see you again. Yes. Alright, next, our beloved Annie Cresty. That's right, we fell for her as hard as Finnick did, didn't we? And here she is! Steph Dolphin! Welcome. Oh, you're so gorgeous, I love you! And finally, we haven't seen her on screen yet today, but you will be blown away when Tigress is revealed in Mockingjay Part 2, and she's here with us today, Eugenie Bond-Durand! On the end there. Thank you. Alright, and now to interview our fantastic actors.
It's coming to an end, but it's never ending.
It's not coming to an end. I shall not accept it.
I feel the same way. Are you sort of secretly hoping for 10 more films, or how are you guys dealing with the bittersweetness of what's happening?
Oh. Well, I'm so excited that we're here.
Yeah.
You know, it's so exciting because, 4 months ago, well, a year and a half ago did we finish Mockingjay Part 2? So already that was really sad, the last day that, for each of us, which was different days, I think probably, the last day was really sad. Bittersweet, but then we had the premiere a couple months ago. Some of you guys were there, I know. I recognized you. But anyway, so the fact that to come back 4 months later and still be connected with the fans and fans of the film is great.
I think this is one of those franchises that leaves a legacy behind, and that's because of all of you. 15 years from now, you'll still be excited and stoked to watch these movies and share them with your friends, and that's why I don't think it, I don't think it ends. It just doesn't. It has left a legacy behind, and I'm sure that everybody here feels humbled and grateful to have had this opportunity to do this.
It's so cool to see all of you. You're still so passionate about it, and it's had this deep effect on your lives, and it will continue to for the rest of your life, probably. So that kind of ripple effect is, we feel so honored to be a part of that, and we're just so grateful to you guys.
This is a film that moved a generation, it's you. It moved you, it inspired you, so, I'm...
Wait a minute, did it end? What?
Well, speaking of movement, fun fact about you, Bruno, is that before you did some stunt work, and I'm curious about what was your favorite / hardest stunt that you did in your time in the franchise?
Well, we spent a lot of time doing choreography with the stunt team, and we were really fortunate to have a great stunt team that was patient and taught us, all kinds of moves. We had one, I think, it was the very beginning, never made it, but it was the very beginning, and there was the rocks we were on.
Oh, the rocks.
The rocks. Those things were...
Catching fire?
Yeah.
Like on the... where all the weapons were?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cornucopia.
Cornucopia.
Yeah, that was a challenge because you had no footing, and you were doing these spins and twirls with, swords and spears.
trying to kill Katniss.
Sounds deadly.
Meta, I'm curious to know from you, if you could go back in time to your audition, what was it like to audition for this warrior role, this woman who has some very interesting teeth? What was the audition like?
Okay, well the audition was top secret, so there was only a scene. There wasn't a script. I had to sign a non-disclosure. I didn't really know what I was getting into. I had read the book, but I hadn't seen the film, so I just knew it was a warrior. And this is a little weird, but I had a dream the night before that I was this crazy warrior figure skater. So,
Figure skater.
yeah, it was so weird, with a ponytail. That's all it was. And so, because I didn't know what I was doing, I just said, well, if I dreamt that, what if I kind of come in with that energy? And so I just kind of went in and did it. And then a week later, they said, here's the part, and would you be part of this? And I was like, yes, of course. So the audition process, it was a little, I didn't really know the full extent of it. I mean, The Hunger Games had already come out, and it was a big hit. But what's been interesting about, and maybe Willow, who can share more about this, but is to see the popularity grow from each film. The Hunger Games at first came out, and it was a big hit. But then I think around the time when I was auditioning for Catching Fire, by the time we shot Catching Fire, it came out, it was even bigger. And each premiere, and going around the world to some of the premieres, just seeing how it grows and grows, has been really amazing.
And that's because of you guys.
Actually, being part of this franchise for now almost 6 years, from 10 to almost 16, I will say, from the beginning we started with fans of the books, and there was a lot of them, but as the franchise grew, we just grew in fandom. I mean, I've traveled a lot since I've been a part of this series, and people all over the world know about it. China, New Zealand, Berlin, everywhere, people know about this series because they love it. So it's been incredible to kind of connect with people all over the world because of it.
Speaking of being in this world for 6 years, you've really had a chance to develop Primrose as you've seen her yourself through your own eyes. How do you think Primrose is similar and or different to Katniss?
Interesting. Okay, so how I felt about Prim is that in the first film, one of my favorite things about the first film and the first book when I read it before I even got an audition for the film is the immense love between Katniss and Prim. I have never felt so much emotion between two characters as I did when I was reading the books and seeing Katniss and Prim. I think that Prim starts the series as kind of this scared little girl because she is. She lives in a horrible world, and her whole family has to fight for things that they shouldn't have to fight for, which is a crazy thing to think about. But towards the end of the series, she becomes kind of this strong and fearless, kind and caring character. She becomes a nurse. She's training to be a doctor at 15 years old. She's going to become a doctor, so she's smart. And in the end, I really do think she becomes a lot more like Katniss and takes care of Katniss in the last 2 films, I think. So it's been a really incredible arc for me as an actor to be able to play those different emotions through every film. It's been really exciting.
Steph, for you were a part of what I would say is one of the most stunning, most iconic weddings in movie history. I think a lot of people would say that's like a dream wedding for them. What was it like to be a part of that? And do you agree, dream wedding status?
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading that big bit in the book and being so moved by it. It's such a dark world, and they're in the middle of a war, but the wedding is like this ray of hope amongst that, and it kind of reminds everyone what they're fighting for. I mean, Prim was Prim. Sorry, we're gonna giggle fest right now. Like, this film is about love and what's important and having a voice for something, and it was so much more than a wedding. It was hope, and that beautiful saying, you know, hope is the only thing stronger than fear, and that I think is what the wedding sort of symbolized. That was so gorgeous.
Thanks, Bruno. Thank you so much. Eugenie, I see you down there. I have a question for you, lady. You had such an incredible transformation from who you are now to who Tigress is on the big screen. What did you do while spending all of that time in the makeup chair to just pass the time?
Oops, wait, I think my thing's getting caught. They don't know. They haven't seen part 4 in the last one. Are we supposed to keep it a secret? Okay. Well, since my call time was at 4 a.m., pretty much the first 2 hours I was trying to, I was in a meditative sleep. Thanks to me. But after about 2 hours, I had this slight break where they would say, you know, V and Glenn or whoever was working on me, I think this is a good time to eat. Which meant that you better eat now because otherwise you won't be able to eat for the rest of the day. So, yeah, that's what I did. So after eating, I would actually talk until they were actually, you know, putting things on my face. And because I have, I don't know whether you've seen this, but I mean, I've got tattoos all the way down my arms and down my back and my chest, all the way up my neck and on my face. So that takes a considerable amount of time to match the look and apply and make it look very realistic.
How much time?
6 hours in the makeup chair. 6 hours.
Deserves a round of applause.
Yeah, it's fun. I made a lot of friends. I saw a lot of activity in that hair and makeup wardrobe, you know, hair and makeup trailer, you know, coming in and out. Yeah. So yeah, 6 hours putting it on, and then with 3 people usually at the same time putting it on me at the same time, and then 2 hours to remove with 2 or 3 people removing it at the same time. Wow. Wait till you see it.
This question goes out to all of you guys, or whoever wants to answer. What was the most difficult scene to shoot?
Different for everybody. You mean overall?
Feel free to answer, yeah.
For me, I think my most difficult scene was my death scene. For obvious reasons. But I think one of the biggest things being it was also my last day on set. Which, I think they did that to me on purpose. But it was really sad, honestly. I mean, there was some happy moments about it, but it was really hard for me because I literally grew up on set. Like, Jen is like a sister to me, like, she's awesome. And so for me, you know, growing up on set, Nicoletta did my makeup every morning, every day on set for years. So it was like I had to say goodbye to all these people, and I had to film this really intense scene. And I wanted to do it right, so that was kind of the hardest thing for me. But it was also really happy because, you know, they shot the last bit, and then Francis, the director, and Nina, the producer, and everybody kind of just comes around you and floods you, and you're like, what's happening? No, it's not over yet, is it? No, no. And I'm like, don't say those words, and then they go, it's a final wrap for Willow Shields, and I'm like, and literally, like, there was hundreds of extras, and they were all clapping and screaming, so it made me very happy, but at the same time, it felt very abrupt to me for somebody to just all of a sudden say, that's it, you're not going to film anymore. So it was really hard for me, and I still get emotional thinking about it, because it was like a very emotional day thinking back, but that was my hardest scene now.
Getting emotional sitting here. Hearing playback. Another general question to anyone who wants to answer. If any of you could be partnered up with a character in the Hunger Games yourselves, who would it be and why? Go for it.
Effie. Stylist. I mean, really. We were both stylists and extreme in our makeup and wardrobe of choices. So absolutely, it has to be Effie.
I support that decision.
Anybody else want to chime in?
B. Now, take brains and brawn and go with that.
Great choice. Who would you guys say is the silliest person?
There's too many, though. There's so many. There's so many. Seriously.
That's a hard competition.
It is.
It was Woody.
Woody, Megan, and
Woody, Jen, Sam.
and Josh. They're all crazy. You put Sam, Woody, Josh, and Jen in the same room, and it's an utter disaster.
Oh my gosh. There are things that we've seen that cannot be unseen.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard things that I should not have heard. Like, seriously. No, but if you put them all in the same room, you can't work. The first day of filming Mockingjay,
Oh my
we were
gosh.
all in the same room, and I swear we didn't get much work done, but nobody cared, because it was like the first day on set. It was awesome.
So go ahead.
Oh, what was the question?
Who would you like to partner up with in the Hunger Games?
Oh, they're all like, they've all got, like, Woody has this glint in his eye that just stays there, and you're like, what is he doing? Like, there's something up all the time, and it's just a matter of time before he pounces. But they're all like that. It's like being at school, and that's what it's like in this family. Like, you're adopted into this family and like a school environment, and thank God, because it's such heavy material, but we get to play, and that's really cool.
Speaking of playing, what did you guys do for fun on set between shots?
Stay warm. Catching fire.
That doesn't sound like fun.
Freezing cold. So, yeah, we stayed warm.
I had to do school. So
that's
an
fun.
unknown fact about
Whoa.
my job.
You're amazing.
In between every take, I was doing all my schoolwork. So every day I had to do a certain amount of hours of school as well as work. So it was really long days for me. Even at 10, I was in between every take, working on my homework, trying to get it all done. So I learned to do school very quickly but efficiently. And you have to kind of split your mind, because I even talked to Josh about this, because he grew up acting as a kid too. And he said, isn't it hard, like, to go from filming an emotional scene where you're crying to doing algebra? Like, really? Like, that's really horribly difficult, because I'm being created by acting, right? And then I have to go do something mathematical. I swear it's impossible.
What was the hardest subject to study while you were shooting?
Math.
Yeah.
Because I swear, it was like I had a certain part of my brain turned on for my job, which was creative acting, doing that. But the minute I got into my trailer and had to do math, I was like, what?
X equals what?
It was an experience. It was crazy, but I had such amazing set teachers, so I had a tutor that would help me, and they were so amazing, and they got me through it, thank goodness. But there was some dark times.
Did you have the same tutor, or did it change?
It did change.
That's a whole
I had one tutor for the first film in North Carolina who was amazing, and she was actually really cool because she worked in like PE too. So we'd be on set. I was 10 years old, so I loved this, and we'd just go play like kickball outside or like go swimming in the hotel pool. She was amazing. And then I had a different set teacher for the last 3 films though, but she was with me for, you know, almost probably 2 years. So the last set teacher I became amazing friends with, and you know, she still sends me pictures of her kids, and like we're family now, which is the funny thing. Like my teacher is my family. It's awesome.
PE on set. Oh.
It's really hard to do because in those costumes, they don't want you messing around. But I got
Sit down
stuff all over my costume.
Shifts that you've made, obviously through doing the movies, the incredible fans. But if you had to pinpoint, what would you say is the most important thing you've taken away from this experience?
Sense of family. That's what this is about. It's all a sense of family and what people do together. And it goes down to the cast members and the crew of the entire series. It really, that was a family, so it was across the board.
The fans have been probably the most exciting part of all of this for us to see. What is the craziest fan experience you've had? Whether it was a tweet or a question or fan mail.
Oh, I had one. It was really cool. My cousin, like when I was first announced or something, on my Instagram, someone said, "If you follow me, I will cry blood." My cousin sent me this like really worried text, and I just thought that was amazing. I was like, "Video or didn't I kind of want to see this." Are you a vampire?
Does anybody else have any crazy fan?
I have a crazy, well, I hope you think it's crazy. I teach acting to teenagers. And I had to keep my announcement of playing Tigress a secret for 9 months while I was going in and out of taping. Yes, the announcement was supposed to be made in September and it was made in May. So I couldn't say anything to my teens, imagine that. Except, I'm going to film, bye. So when they did learn, I said, okay, there's going to be a big announcement on Wednesday. And okay, fine, only see them once a week. So, big announcement on Wednesday. So I saw them on Thursday, and my assistant said, hide! I don't want anybody to see. Hide. They know it, hide. So I come up to the door, and they race to the door, and they start jumping up and down. They fall on the floor. They start pounding on the floor. 2 of the girls start crying. They get up on chairs, and they start hugging me. They couldn't stop hugging. Then they started saying, all in a row, "This is what you mean to me. Oh, Miss Usually, oh my gosh, you've done this." And I thought, I'm starting to cry. We're having like, oh, I'm crying. Yeah, so that was an incredible, wonderful, heartfelt experience for me.
Well, beyond reading the books, how did you all research and prepare and get ready for each of your characters?
Well, besides reading the books and talking with the director and watching the film, because my character, Enobaria, is such a warrior, and we did, as Bruno was saying, we did a lot of training. I think for me, it was about getting into that physicality of learning how to be a warrior, survivor, and the more you kind of put yourself in the position of okay, if I don't survive, I'm gonna die, because ultimately a lot of, the theme under the Hunger Games besides hope is survival. And so when you start physical about, the physicality really, really helped me.
So now that we're reminiscing, is there a moment from shooting this or just on set that stands out in your head that you would all like to relive again just one more time?
I remember one time, I thought one of the coolest things was that first day on Mockingjay Part 1, and I was filming a scene with Jen, Woody, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Jeffrey Wright. And obviously there's an immense amount of talent in that room at that moment. I mean, there's a few Oscars in there. It's pretty intense. But everybody was so nice. And that was the day that we barely got any work done. And I remember shooting a scene with Jen. Obviously it was emotional. I had to stay serious. And Woody was behind the camera trying to get me to laugh. The whole time. And I was like, you're making this really hard to do. I was supposed to be, really serious talking to Katniss because she had just gotten hurt and it was this big thing. But he was jumping around behind the camera and making faces, and he couldn't stop laughing. He couldn't stop laughing. I stayed serious. He was laughing so hard, he started rolling around on the floor. We had to cut the cameras because we could hear him laughing. And then we all laughed for about 5 minutes, which delayed everything, which everybody on set loves. But no, it was actually awesome because we just all hung out and talked, and everybody was just enjoying themselves, and it was really cool.
Does anybody else have a favorite moment?
said this just before. I love for me, the reunion between Finnick and Annie is just so beautiful. When I read it in the book, I loved it. And when we played it, it was just exactly how I pictured it. But then also, what many people don't know, there was some amazing bloopers that happened, which I really hope to see the light of day, where we had this amazing, it was like perfect moment, and then suddenly there was like this dog pile of bodies on top of us. Jen and Woody and Jenna were like, oh yeah, baby. Oh. It was like started as a little whisper in my ear and then just grew. So that was my very first day with everybody, with everyone together. That was.
Bruno, this one's for you. How did being a part of Catching Fire and the Hunger Games change your career?
Well, it gives you more opportunities to do what you love to do, and that really is it in a nutshell. It gives you a creative space to go do your work, whether it's film, TV. So for me, it's been a blessing and incredibly grateful for it.
Tons of fans out there all over the world now.
All over the world. That's what's amazing, right? It really is. I mean, I can't stress enough. Like, you guys are, there's nothing like you guys out there. And that's why I think 20, 30 years from now, you're still going to be on top of it.
You're right.
Nana, this question is for you. If you could come back into the franchise playing any character other than your own, male or female, who would it be?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Well, okay. So does this mean that we go back? Oh,
You could be recast as
okay.
anyone. Who would it be?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't mind being Katniss. I mean, who wouldn't? Come on. You'd want to be Katniss too.
Bruno wants to be Katniss. He told me earlier.
Yeah, Katniss would be fun to be, prim. I don't know.
Really?
Like a cocky Maybe nurse at the end.
She's coming for you.
But yeah, I mean, I think that there's so many different roles in this part. I mean, in this movie, that it'd kind of be interesting to be every different individual because everybody brings something so different. But I have to say that Katniss's journey from beginning to end is quite incredible. So.
Suzanne Collins.
Yeah.
It all starts.
Well, this one's for you. Obviously, you and Jennifer have such a great connection that you can really feel through the big screen. And I know we've talked about over the years your guys' sisterly connection offset also, but can you kind of elaborate a little bit of what your relationship was like when you weren't shooting?
Oh gosh. I feel like at the beginning it was very sisterly, and it was very big sister, little sister, always making fun of me, that kind of thing. But as I got older, I felt like she was still my big sister, but she also became kind of a mentor. Like, she taught me a lot about acting and the industry and what to do, what not to do. I feel like I should share as much as possible, right, guys? Kind of embarrassing, but around like Catching Fire and Mockingjay, I was probably like 14, 15, right? I would like talk to her about everything. Like everything. This is like my first crushes, like everything I would talk to her about. So it was amazing. So it was definitely like this sisterly friendship that, I'd come on set and she's like, so what did he text you? What did he say? Tell me. And we talked about it for an hour, like one text, like two little girls. And it was awesome. So that's kind of the relationship that we had. Has always been very sisterly. And she's been there for me through a lot of things. And I still talk to her. And she's also just extremely inspiring. I mean, I love all of the stuff that she's done recently, film-wise. And she's obviously really talented, so yeah.
Speaking of bonding, Steph, this next question is for you. What's one or two things that you and Sam Claflin bonded over while working
Well, he's British and I'm Australian. I mean, there's like so many things we just naturally, instantly got along. I think like our sense of humor is a great match, and we both come from a theatre background. I remember one of the days we were shooting the wedding, we just started like stage slapping the shit out of each other. Just, you know, those whoosh, and just shocked hundreds of extras watching like that. And
I hope that's on there.
yeah, I hope it is. That'd be amazing. And quoting Shakespeare or breaking into song, and I don't know. He's just so much fun. It's so much fun. He's the sweetest guy. He truly is as gorgeous on the inside as he is on the outside, as everyone knows. Like, he's just like lovely, you know? He's such a joy to be around. So many things. Yeah.
All right. This last question, this is our last question. It goes out to you, Jeannie. I'm curious to know, what was the experience of working with director Francis Lawrence like?
He was incredibly joyful. He set the tone of the entire filming, or at least for me, from what I saw. He was always happy every time that I was on set. He had a huge smile on his face. Every time that I would see him, he was either jumping up and down, or he was laughing. There was a big grin on his face. So I had an incredible experience working with him. And I felt like, you know, when you work on set, it's a trickle down, it's like a pyramid, and that director is on the top. And he sets the tone for the entire thing, or at least that's been my experience. And I saw a very solid set. I saw a solid cast, a solid crew, highly professional, incredibly talented, beyond anybody's wildest dreams. And it was set by him. So I had an incredible experience with him.
If I can just add to that a little bit, I will completely agree with you. And I worked with him for a few years, and I never once saw him without a smile on his face. And it was the most incredible thing. I worked with him for 3 years on set, you know, day after day. And especially as a kid, to have such a relaxed environment, everybody was happy and excited to be there. I mean, it made the whole crew excited to be there. It just made it very relaxing. I think as actors, you want a relaxing setting so you can explore. And he was really welcoming to that. And he was just in general a really great person to work with. And obviously has an incredible vision for all of these movies. So, yeah.
I was just going to jump in with that, the vision part of it. Creatively, he had a very clear vision of what it was going to be, what it was going to look like. And when you have somebody at the top leading that is clear about what they want, things become efficient and things just move, and there's no time in between. And he was, I thought, was just a master at that. Like, he knew exactly what he wanted and went after it, and, you know, made no apologies for it, and the production just kept moving. And that's always a great sign. Always great to be working with someone like that.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I went to like film school doing all these movies. Honestly, because
no.
it's true,
It was
right?
master class.
Yeah, because I honestly think he's one of the best directors, and in general, learning about acting through filming 4 massive films with Oscar winners, and I mean Julianne Moore, Jen, Philip Seymour Hoffman. You not only go to school for acting, but you're also working alongside people like Francis, and you're learning technicality about filmmaking and how to set up a shot and what lenses to use and how they're lighting the whole set. I mean, this is literally like, if you pay attention, it's like you're going to film school the whole time.
What made these great was the inspiration, that you were surrounded by all this great talent, and you were inspired to do your best work. It was right? It was,
absolutely.
You know, you saw Stanley Tucci and Jeffrey Wright, you know, do their thing, and you were like, okay, I want to do that. You know, like, it was inspiring. That whole set, every day, it was an inspiration to go out there.
Thank you for letting us pick your brains and get some insight. There's some really great gems in here. Thank you guys. Can I ask you a question now?
So I wanted to ask you guys a question.
Sure. Oh, a question for us.
Because, I mean, they look amazing. So surprised. So how long did it take you guys to get ready?
That's a great question.
Well, to clarify, we had nothing to do with this. The experts are right over there, and they deserve all the credit.
Surprisingly, it didn't take us very long. It took us about an hour to get ready. But I will say, that's because our makeup artist is a genius. But the woman who designed our clothes, she did this, y'all, in a day.
One day.
She handmade all of this. And so, yeah, Jocelyn and I just showed up and took an hour, and here we are. We're ready for the next Hunger Games movie.
Amazing.
Thank you, though.
Let's even have Caesar Flickerman come back down and join us on stage.
The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. We'll just start in a few minutes, and then immediately after that will be the costume contest, so we can't wait to see everyone's fabulous costumes. But let's say goodbye and thank you again to our fantastic...
Show of hands who flew here, right? And who drove like more than 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, right?